Hi guys, this is Vineet, and in today's video we will discuss about concepts of database identifiers in SQL Server. Before we proceed ahead, I would request you guys to please remember some points. I would request you guys to please watch this video till the end to gain better clarity of the concept, and if possible for you, please watch this video twice and perform any exercises mentioned in the video in your test environment only. Do not perform any exercises in the production environment. And we would like to know your thoughts regarding our videos, so please share your comments with us. In case you need the PDF copy of the notes that we will discuss in the video, you may download the PDF copy by going to the video description area. Just below my video there is a description area. So check out the description. There is a link to download PDF file. You can download the PDF file or PDF notes by paying a nominal fee. You can check that out. And if you have any questions related to SQL Server, you may ask those questions by paying a nominal fee of INR 500. That's for a single question. At the below link, you may copy and paste that link, or you may type that link in your browser to go to the service page where you can avail this service of asking questions related to SQL Server. And also, if you need any help with writing a profile while preparing your resume, you can do so by going to the link given below. And there's a service page link. You can avail that service for INR 1000. That's an hourly charge, so you can check that service out. Now let's come back to the topic, which is concepts of database identifiers in SQL Server. Let's quickly go to notes. So let me take out my pen. So these are the notes I was talking about. So if you want to download these notes, you can do that so by going to the link in the description of this video. I will include that link, and there's a nominal fee to it. You can pay that fee and download the notes. Alright, let's begin our discussion. Else you may write these notes as well if you like. Now we are discussing about the concepts of database identifiers in SQL Server. So what are basically identifiers? Identifiers is basically a database object name, which is known as its identifier. So any of the objects in the database have specific name assigned to them, or we can assign some name to a database object. That name is called the identifier. And every item in SQL Server can have an identifier. Examples are servers have identifier, databases have identifier, and database objects like tables, if we talk about views, any columns inside the tables, any indexes on the table, any triggers created, any stored procedures created. All of these objects, also constraints and rules, all these objects have identifiers or names associated with them, and those names are called identifiers. So identifiers are required for most of the objects in SQL Server, but they can be optional for some of the objects, such as we don't need identifiers with each and every constraints. I will show you examples in some time, so let's check that out. So let's talk about this. Alright guys, so let's talk about identifiers further. So identifiers are created when we define or create an object in SQL Server. So identifiers are created at that time because we have to name the objects during their creation. So at that time identifiers got created, and these identifiers can be used to reference this particular object, which is the name of the object. And for example, let's examine the code snippet below, where we are creating a table with the name table X. So table X is an identifier here. and we are creating a column with the name key call, which is of integer type, having a primary key constraint defined on it, and another column description with its data type and varchar 80 type. This can hold maximum of 80 characters. And let's talk about this code piece altogether. So the above statement, what it is doing is it's creating a table with the identifier table x. So table x is an identifier here, and two columns we talked about. It's creating key call and the description columns, and these are the identifiers. Key call and the description are identifiers for this column. So this is the identifier for first column, this is the identifier for second column, and also it has an unnamed constraint. So earlier we were talking about that identifiers can also do not have name assigned to them for some of the identifiers. So primary key is one of the constraints where a name is not required for this key. So primary key, as it does not have any identifier associated with it, it's called an unnamed constraint. And we talked about this line. Identifiers are required for most objects but can be optional for some of the objects. So some of the objects I've given you an example. So for primary key, identifier is not required, it's an optional. And here primary key is an unnamed constraint, no name is associated with the primary key. Now let's talk about the collation, which is basically a character set of any particular language. So collation of an identifier depends upon the level at which the identifier is defined. Identifiers of instance level objects like logins. So logins can be created at the server levels. So those logins have the identifiers associated with them. Let me show you where the logins are located in SQL Server. So I've just triggered the SQL Server. Let's wait for it to open. So once it is open, I will connect to the instance of SQL Server. I will show you where logins are located, and we have an identifiers for the login, basically their names. I will show you. So those are the identifiers created at the instance level, so which is basically an instance of SQL Server. So if we look under the instance, there is a section for security. Under that there are logins. So these are the logins, and these have some names associated with these logins have names associated with them. So these names are called identifiers, and we're talking about if identifiers, not if, but identifiers of instance level objects. So what are instance level objects? These include logins, the database names. Database names are also instance level names, so these names are also identifiers and are assigned the default collation of the instance. So whatever the collation is defined at the instance level, those database identifiers can have name depending upon the collation defined at the instance level. So let's go again. The collation, which is basically a character set of a language of an identifier, depends upon the level at which it is defined. So some of the identifiers are defined at the level of instance, and those identifiers objects include logins and the database names. So these names are assigned the default collation of the instance. There are certain identifiers of objects that are defined inside the database, such as tables and views, and column names are assigned the default collation of the database. So let me show you collation of the database. So for example, This database MyDB has maybe certain tables. If not, I will check out the. So this doesn't have any tables. So let's take worldwide wide world importer. So this database have many tables inside it. So the collation of these objects. So identifiers of an object in the database. So we are talking about the name of these objects, such as table names and any views or column names. So tables have columns inside them. So these also have names, right? These names are assigned the default collation of the database. Now, how you can view the default collation of the database? You can right click on any database and go to properties to see what character set is allocated to that database. You can go to options. In the topmost area you will find the collation. So here we have a collation Latin1 underscore journal underscore 100 C1AS. Similarly, we have many other collations for many different languages. So those collations can be assigned to your databases from here. So another collation is defined at the instance level, but you will not be able to locate that. So you can locate that from here. So this is the server collation, but you cannot change this collation from here. So it is mentioning that changes to server properties and settings may affect the. So you can maybe change this collation through the script, but not directly from here. So but this is the collation allocated at the instance level instead of database level. So that's basically a difference. So collations can be defined at the instance level or at the database level. Now let's go back and further read it. Now let's take an example. Two table names with the names that differ only in the case. So here we are talking about an example where we are considering two tables. We can have two tables with the names that differ only in case, can be created in a database that has a case sensitive collation. So if any case sensitive collation is defined to the database, the collation which is case sensitive, in that database we can have two tables with the same name, with the exception that they are only differ in their cases, small case or uppercase letters. We can have those two tables with the same name only in the case if we have a case sensitive collation. Alright, so for example, if I can say, so let's take an example of a table, say table X. So I'm taking table X, and another thing I can define as table X. I can define two tables like this. These are differing in their case sensitivity. So here T is capital, T is small. So if we have a case sensitive collation, applied to the database, then yeah, there's a possibility we can create these two kind of tables, only differing in their uppercase or lowercase. But these type of tables cannot be created in a database with case insensitive collation. So if your collation is case insensitive, then in those databases you cannot create table like this. Only the case sensitive collation is applied to a database. You can create these tables with a similar name but different case. Now let me go back and select my pen. Alright, so I think this example is pretty much clear. We just discussed an example. Two tables with a similar name but differing in their cases can be created in our database with the case sensitive collation applied to it, whereas cannot be created in the database with the case insensitive collation applied to that database. Now the name of the variables or the parameters of the functions and the stored procedures must comply with the rules for T-SQL identifier. So or any other objects like functions, stored procedure, those must comply with the rule for SQL identifier. Now we will talk about rules in a while. So we have some rules for regular identifiers we are discussing in a while. So those rules are applied to functions and any stored procedures that are created within the database. Now let's talk about the classes of identifiers. So there are two classes of identifiers. Some are regular identifiers and some are delimited identifiers. Now let's talk about the regular identifiers. So let's take so regular identifiers are basically identifiers which are not delimited when and they are used inside the T-SQL statements, and they must comply with the rules for regular identifiers, which we will discuss shortly. So regular identifiers have rules associated to them, so those rules are applicable, and also they are not delimited. Now let me show you what do we mean by that. They are not delimited. So let's take a worldwide importer database, and so let's use a new query here. Worldwide importers is the database selected, so I'm not using the use statement here, so I'm just directly using the select queries. So I'm doing select star from maybe sales dot invoices. So we can execute this query. So basically here we do not have any identifiers. Maybe I can put any additional criteria where customer ID equals 832. Let's execute this query. So here we have not used any quotation marks, the double quotes basically like this, or any delimiters like square brackets. These are basically the delimiters in SQL Server. So here in the above statement we have not used these identifiers, so these are regular identifiers. So these are not delimited. Give me a second, guys. Okay. Now let's talk about delimited identifiers. So what do we mean by delimited identifiers? So let's take the same code maybe and put delimiters against them. So now sales and invoices is a delimited identifier, but also customer ID is now a delimited. We are using delimiter, so these are known as delimited identifiers. But if we talk about here, the delimiter is optional, if we say, and also here the delimiter is optional, it is not required. But in certain cases delimiters are not optional. So for example, if your object have suppose a name, you have a column with spaces in the name, then those identifiers must be included within the delimiters. And for example, if customer there is a space in customer ID, then this delimiter is required and not optional. Instead of delimiter is optional. But if customer ID do not have any space in it, yeah, delimiter is optional over here. Alright, so if it's a regular identifier, yep, delimiters are optional here. But if the identifiers have spaces in between them, then yeah, delimiters are pretty much required. So these are basically delimited identifiers. which use brackets, or we can even include them within the quotes as well. We can include quotes if you want. I think this statement will also run perfectly fine. So yeah, you can use these delimiters. Here square brackets are the delimiters, and here quotes have the delimiters. Now let's move ahead. We also talked about that identifiers that do not comply with the rules of regular identifiers must be delimited. So if we are talking about here, if your delimiters are not complying with the rules for regular identifiers, all these rules we will discuss shortly. So if your delimiters are not complying with these rules, those need to be delimited. Now let's go through these statement once, and then we will discuss some code. Okay, so regular identifiers are the identifiers that are not delimited when used inside SQL statements. Delimiters are square brackets and quotes, and they must also comply with the rules for regular identifiers. So any of the identifiers which are not complying with the rules for regular identifiers, those must be delimited. Now let's talk about delimited identifiers. These are enclosed in double quotes or square brackets. We have shown you a few moments ago, or you can enclose the identifiers in double quotes or square brackets. And identifiers that do not comply with all the rules for identifiers must be delimited in transact SQL statements. Now let me show you a short example. Although I have shown you if the customer ID have space in it, yeah, then definitely you need to enclose it within the double quotes. So let me create a table. So I'm creating a table. Create a table, maybe a sample table. Sample. Samples maybe. Sample names, I would say. And I have defined two columns, first name and varchar type maybe 50. Another is last name, similarly varchar 50. So if I try to execute this table statement, create table statement, it won't allow me to execute because the identifier name, which is sample names, is not meeting the rules for regular identifiers. It has a space in it. So regular identifiers do not have space in between them. In case if I have to use this particular name with a space and it's not meeting up with the rule for regular identifiers, then I must delimit this table. Either I have to include this table in double quotes, or what I can do is I can also include this table name as in square brackets, which will, and what this will do, this will allow me to create this particular table even it has a space in between in the column name, not in the column name but in the table name. So if I execute the statement, now this table is created. If I do select star from maybe sample names, although this table exists, it will not allow me to execute this statement because I need to delimit this statement. So if I delimit it with the delimiters, then yeah, I will be able to. So name is samples name, so I can do that. So alright, so any of the identifiers that do not comply with the rules for regular identifier must be delimited with square brackets or double quotes. Let's go back to notes. Now let's discuss about the rules for regular identifiers quickly. There are some rules associated with regular identifiers which do not require any delimiters. Basically they are not delimited, so there are rules associated with those regular identifiers. So let's talk about this. So the names of various objects inside SQL Server, including the variable names, function names, and stored procedure names, and those names must comply with the following rules for regular identifiers. Now what are regular identifiers? So their first letter can include only characters from uppercase A to Z or lowercase a to Z, and it can also include characters from many other languages in case we are using the Unicode standard. The first letter can also include an underscore, the @ sign, and the number sign. So this is @ sign, this is number sign, and underscore you may know very well. I don't have to type it. So what are regular identifiers? Their first letter can include letters from capital A to capital Z, small a to small z, or Z, I would say, small a to small z, or uppercase A to uppercase Z, and the first letter of the name can also include an underscore, @ sign, or the number sign, and it can also include characters from many other languages as well, apart from this A to Z or this small a to Z. Now certain symbols at the beginning of an identifier, so we were talking about the symbols earlier, so these symbols include underscore, @ sign, and number sign, so we are talking about that here. So certain symbols at the beginning of an identifier have special meaning in SQL Server. So for example, if we talk about a regular identifier that starts with @ sign, or this particular sign, if any variable starts with that sign, this denotes a local variable or a parameter that cannot be used as name for any other type of objects. So @ can only be used with local variables or the parameters. It cannot be used for any other objects inside SQL Server. An identifier that starts with a number sign. Now let's talk about another special type of identifier that starts with a number sign or hash. This denotes a temporary table or procedure. Now let's talk about the other type of identifiers with double @ sign. An identifier that starts with a double number sign, it denotes a global temporary object. The single number sign represents the temporary table or a procedure in SQL Server, whereas the double hash denotes the global temporary object. However, number and double number signs can be used to begin the names of other type of objects as well. So we can create like tables with double hash included in their name, but for @ those cannot be used to create table names. This cannot be used as the first character of an table name. It can only be used for local variables or parameters inside SQL Server, whereas double hash can be used for, or hash can be used for any other objects as well. So that's why we were saying that, however, number and double number sign can be used to begin the names of other type of objects as well. So we can have a column with the name including hash in it. However, we should refrain from adopting such practices like using hash, @ or double hash for the table names or column names using these character as the first character of the identifier. We should refrain from adopting such practice. Now let's talk about another point, which is some transact SQL functions start with double @ sign. So there are some functions in transact SQL with a double @ sign. They start with double @ sign, and we should also refrain from using such names with double @ sign to avoid any confusions. Now characters after the first character. So far we were talking about the first character of an identifier and these first 3 points. These 3 points. We're talking about the first characters of an identifier. Now let's talk about the characters after the first character. Those characters can use letters from A to Z or small a to z, and also characters from other languages in case we are using a Unicode standard. They can also use number as well. So those anything after the first character can use number as well, and the @ sign as well, the $sign as well, the number sign as well, and the underscore as well. So no restrictions with the character apart from the first character of an identifier. You can use anything with that. So we must not use transact SQL reserved keywords. So there are certain keywords that are reserved in transact SQL, and we should not use those reserved keywords for defining identifiers or the names of tables, etc. SQL Server keeps both lower and upper version of the reserved keywords. So SQL Server keeps the both lowercase and uppercase versions of the reserved keyword. So we should not be using both upper or the lowercase reserved word for defining any identifiers for any variables, table names, column names, etc. So in case you still want to use the identifiers that do not comply with these rules, then you must delimit your identifier. So delimiters are required here in case you still want to do not comply with the rules of T-SQL for regular identifiers. You must delimit these identifiers with double quotation marks or square brackets. The words that are reserved depends upon the database compatibility level. So it also depends upon what database compatibility level is. Depending upon the compatibility level, that SQL Server has a different set of reserved words, a set of reserved words, and we should not be using reserved words for defining identifiers. And in case we want to use the reserved case for defining identifiers, those must be delimited with either the quotation marks or the square brackets. Now embedded spaces or special characters are not allowed unless we are not using the double quotes or square brackets. So any special characters are not allowed within the identifier names if we are not delimiting them with double quotes or square brackets. So guys, we are done. What we have discussed in this video is we have discussed about the concepts of database identifiers. We have given you an overview. We have talked about the classes of identifiers, including the regular identifiers and the delimited identifiers. We have talked about delimiters, which are double quotes and square brackets. We've also discussed about the rules for identifiers, which include rules for the first character of an identifier and rules regarding the characters after the first character of the identifier. So go through these notes, go through this video again to gain better clarity of the concepts. In case you need the PDF copy of these notes, I am including the list in the description. You can go to that link, pay a nominal fee, and download a copy of the PDF notes. And I hope you like this video. Please click on the like button if you really like this video. Please comment and share this video with your friends in case you feel this video is useful for them as well. Also, please subscribe to my channel. There's a subscribe button below. Click on that button. Thank you so much for your time on this video, and you have a wonderful day ahead.